Alright, what is up YouTube? So I just wanted to start this video by saying I am not a part of Bungie's creator program. I have no sort of investment into Marathon as of yet, but we are going to be talking about Marathon as I think it is sort of a very interesting conversation at the moment, and I do think there are valid points to both sides, as long as people are bringing sort of constructive feedback and arguments, because you guys know how it is. There's a lot of people online that just sort of spout bullshit, and bring social issues into the game that they look past what a game provides in light of certain things that just it's annoying to say the least. So we're just gonna talk about Marathon, the game. And personally, from what I saw from the reveal event, I am really looking forward to the game. Now, there's a part of this conversation where Bungie's audience, right? They've built their Destiny community over the years, their PvE sort of story narrative focused community over the past, what's 10 years, right? Destiny 1 and 2. And from what I'm seeing online, a lot of those players feel sort of burnt about Marathon, right? They're feeling like Bungie has abandoned them. Bungie has abandoned their investment into the developers. Bungie is abandoning, but I think Bungie is moving on, right? As every game developer does, when they want to do something new, they're going to bring in a new audience. They want to attract a new audience and sort of make their mark somewhere else, right? Destiny is still going to be there. It's still going to receive updates, but those people, they have to come to terms with the fact that Bungie is just moving on as a game developer, right? They're not abandoning you for your investment. They are pursuing what they want to do. They have a lot of the old guard and a lot of new guard, and I think Bungie is just ready for a fresh start, right? So I think that part of the conversation, I think players just need to move on and understand this is something new, As far as people making comparisons to say Concord, I really don't see it, and in light of the game, right? I don't think Concord really shares anything with this game in terms of its gameplay loop, in terms of pace of the gameplay. Sure, they were both first-person shooters, but Concord wasn't anything close to what Marathon is in its art direction, in its gameplay loop. It's just they're two completely different things. So I'm not really sure why people are making those comparisons. I did see a post online that highlighted when you're signing up for the alpha, you have the option to choose, instead of just male and female, you have the option to choose non-binary or transgender, which, if you're signing up for an alpha and somebody chooses to click, what they identify as, I don't necessarily understand why that puts a stick up the ass of some of those people. I mean, if you think about a stick up the ass, it's kind of, honestly, I think if you're going to go and post online about it and be upset, like these social issues aren't integrated into the game, right? They aren't in the game of Marathon. It's just a selection that you can choose for the alpha, and people comparing it to Concord just based on that factor alone, they're kind of insane, right? They're kind of just clinically online people that you shouldn't have. They're not the constructive people, right? As far as the sort of constructive side of the criticisms for Marathon, I do have to agree with some things. Seems like Sony is sort of pushing for this to happen fast, right? There's going to be 4 maps at launch, which for extraction shooters, if you guys haven't played an extraction shooter, 4 maps is pretty decent for a launch of an extraction shooter. So we'll just have to see what kind of depth these maps have when we play them. Obviously, some creators who have played the game, I'm quoting Luke Stevens in this example here, just don't feel fully fleshed out yet, or could become repetitive. But we'll see. They have 6 months of development on the game and 300 developers. So it's gonna be a balancing act for Bungie to figure out how they want to use these 6 months, how they want to allocate their resources, and it could be the case that they do delay the game, but they do have a lot of talent on that team. I do trust Bungie to sort of make the right decision there, but we'll just have to wait and see, right? Obviously, there are little gameplay things like the sort of stamina bar that sort of fills up and then has to deplete before you can run again, which a lot of people were annoyed with. I saw Shroud have a take about the game that I sort of resonated with, where, extraction shooters, if it's in your face telling you what to do. It sort of takes away the knowledge barrier for extraction shooters, and I think that's exactly what Bungie's trying to do. Before a lot of the hardcore extraction audience, like say Tarkov, understanding the markets, how you trade, all of that, it's an important side to the extraction shooter that a lot of first-person shooter players, especially on console, just aren't aware to yet. It's going to come with this game, I think, for the more casual players, but it remains to be seen. Now, also, they have some UI elements to figure out. They have obviously, if you're pulling attachments from a weapon or putting them on a weapon, you should be able to freely, do that and not have them locked to the weapon once you attach it, that sort of thing. I think those are all valid points. I also think Marathon would do well to understand that a lot of the appeal of extraction shooters is the material aspect of it. You are literally going in with the materials you buy, you bring in, you loot materials, right? And so seeing these materials on the player model before you go into a run, right? I think from what I saw in the gameplay, you can see the backpacks you equip to your runner, but I'm not sure about anything else, any sort of like helmet attachment that you can put on, right? I think these are all just tied to the hero. So I think having more material, more visual things you can see, right? Like in Tarkov, if you're taking Vaseline or you're eating food, right? You can see the actions happening. You can see, your vision changes, when you're injured, starts to go bloodshot, starts to go red. Now, obviously, that's a more realistic military sim, but for Marathon, if they do it in a more sci-fi way, let's say you get injured, you're close to death, maybe your vision starts to digitize, or maybe something, something else to make it feel like it's more lived in, right? And you are actually experiencing the materials you're gathering and the materials you're using, like the consumables. Obviously, we saw the healing animation, we saw the shield animation, but there needs to be variety with that. There needs to be options, different animations for what's happening, how your character reacts to being injured, or sort of, visual effects for when you're moving around, that kind of thing. I think those things over time, Bungie could work to incorporate and give the more material feeling of what extraction shooters are to Marathon. Overall, gunplay looks fantastic. The art style looks fantastic. And all we've seen, guys, is one map. Apparently there is another map on the actual Marathon ship, the map in the sky. I'm assuming every map is going to have different AI, different objectives, different quests you can complete. Speaking of quests, another constructive criticism was that you couldn't equip multiple quests. That needs to change. The content needs to be filled out. You have to have a long list of content that players are going to be able to complete and get to the end game. But it has to be balanced so that the end game doesn't come too quick. Being able to accept multiple quests is very important. I don't think it should just be one at a time to sort of slow down that pace. I think you need to be able to equip multiple and get multiple objectives done if you see fit, But yeah, having multiple different objectives on different maps with different enemies to encounter, different potentially boss fights, different Easter eggs, different artifacts that you're collecting in this game, which they've hinted at. You can collect artifacts. If you bring these artifacts in, let's say with a team, maybe you unlock certain encounters that while you're doing the extraction, let's say it's sort of like a Destiny raid or something, like a boss fight, where all the players are trying to kill each other and this boss, right? It could be something very interesting that we just haven't seen yet for an extraction shooter. So that remains to be seen. Also, a lot of players from the event voiced how they enjoyed sort of the difficulty that the AI brought to the game. There were some people that thought, they brought too much to an engagement, but overall, the opinion around how difficult the AI was positive overall, and having that difficulty on top of a PvP experience with actually having to interact with the environment was a positive for most at the event. Again, still have yet to see what other encounters there are going to be. So that is exciting to say the least. On top of that, there are also 2 more runners we have yet to see gameplay for, that being the Thief and apparently Lifeline, which is sort of a medic class. We have yet to see those 2 in action, how they play with the other runners in the current alpha build. But all of these runners, all of these encounters with AI, how they balance the PvP, they have time and a lot of developers to adjust for launch, right? These things will change. I'm assuming the UI will change. On a personal level, one of my complaints is just seeing the price of everything in the menu. It sort of clutters it, in my opinion. You don't really get to see the item. And so I would hope they maybe take the price tags off of the items, and so you sort of discover that for yourself at the different faction vendors. But yeah, that's going to do it, guys, for the video. What did you guys think? What's your sort of stance on the game? What's your opinion on the gameplay, the art style? Let me know in the comments below. If you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe for more. I'm going to be posting more content about Marathon and just other, things surrounding film, gaming, and just current events and media. So if you guys enjoyed, leave a sub, leave a like, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace out.